Time for another edition of the Boselli Breakdown, and boy, do we have some things to break down after a 47-10 beating on Monday Night Football in Buffalo. J.P. Shadrick with Tony Boselli, the Hall of Fame left tackle. I mean, this is a low, obviously, and I don't know if I remember in at least recent Jaguars history a game quite like last week's, Tony.
I mean, no, because, back in 2015, the Patriots beat the brakes out of us and never punted, and they had Tom Brady. They were going crazy. But that was a much different feeling around the organization. We were in rebuild mode, early years of Gus Bradley, trying to figure things out, so on and so forth. We come into this season, this is a team that's supposed to be, ready to win now. The owner coming out and having very strong statements, the talent level, so on and so forth. And to be 0-3 and then to lose on national television like we did, and really got embarrassed. We got outcoached, we got outplayed, out-executed. Every aspect of the game, we lost. That combined with the expectations that were around the building and the city and everything else, boy, it makes it one of the worst that I've been a part of.
And then you got to come back into the building this week if you're Doug Peterson and the coaching staff and the players and try to start to pick up the pieces somehow and move forward. The league never stops. That's a true fact in the NFL. There's 2 division games back-to-back, and they don't care about your struggles. So the Jaguars have to figure out a way forward. So I think this week, though, for me, at least early, Tony, I don't know about you, it's more about the Jaguars than it is the Texans this week. There's a lot of things internally here to try to get right first before you can even focus on the opponent.
Well, I think that's for the rest of the year. You got to fix yourself first, and you got to kind of evaluate what you're doing and kind of how you're going to move forward. And I think it starts with the individual, each individual player. Obviously, coaching, they got to evaluate how they're coaching, how they're teaching, how they're game planning. It was clear we got out game planned in several aspects of that game last night. But for me, it starts, with those players understanding, and they all do, they're pros, that we're playing on Sunday, one way, regardless. And we're playing 13 times after that. And the question is what do you want to put on tape? How do you want to represent yourself as an individual and as a team? And what message do you want to send to every opponent that you're going to deal with the rest of the year? And what do you want to be known as? It starts there, because you got to have personal pride. You got to be a pro. You got to prepare yourself. You got to give great effort. You have to understand your assignments. You have to physically take care of your body so you're prepared from a physical standpoint. And then you start there, and you guys get guys' heads straight and thinking the right way, and then you can start worrying about, game planning and preparation and, the Texans and who you're playing against. But first and foremost, I think every guy has to evaluate what they've been doing up to this point. And from their preparation to effort to performance, every bit of it, and understand that it's got to change. It's got to improve across the board.
All right, Tony, let's touch on the Houston Texans, of course, division rivals, AFC South. And, you look through their depth chart. Of course, C.J. Stroud's at quarterback, Joe Mixon at running back. If he's up and healthy, who knows this week. But Tank Dell, Stephon Diggs, Nico Collins at wide receiver. They've got explosive playmakers on offense and a young up-and-coming quarterback who's had some really good moments so far.
Yeah, and an approved defense, too.
Yeah.
Improved defense. So it's a big test. And they lost in, a pretty ugly game up in Minnesota and did not have their best, had a lot of penalties, a lot of self-inflicted wounds, turnovers, so on and so forth, and they lost that game. So they're going to be focused, and they're mad and they're upset. And so you got a team that does not like the taste in their mouth right now after their performance in week 3. So they're going to be ready. And it's a tough place to play. They believe they're the best team in the AFC South right now. They got a fan base that's excited about the young quarterback. Like you said, they have a lot of talent. We just got exposed a little bit against the Bills. We are a man coverage team, and they had a great game plan. They picked us. They rubbed us. They were wide open. They had big plays. And their receiving core is nowhere as good as the Houston Texans. Now, their quarterback is better. Josh Allen's one of the best in the whole world. But their receiving core is not as good as the Texans. The Texans are much more explosive, much more. I think they have more speed. And how do you match up? How do you match up with those guys? Can you play man coverage? You know they're going to have a good game plan. So there's a lot of things you got to figure out. And then on the offense side of the ball, they got to play better. It's another slow start. Very inconsistent at the quarterback position, not consistent from the offensive line, giving up pressures, struggling really across the board. I think especially on the left side, Cam, I think I read gave up 8 pressures. That's got to improve. And you got a good unit again. So the pressure's on. This is the NFL. It's every week. We talk about it all the time, JP. It's a week-to-week league. And the only way to get this nasty taste out of your mouth and change the narrative is to get a win. You got to go find a way to get a win. And if they can do that, you know what? People will feel better. You'll be 1-3, really only 1 game back in the division. So go figure it out.
I think John Madden said it best. Winning is the best deodorant. And the Jags need some of that right now, for sure. Tony, we'll talk to you again next week.
Thanks, JP.
Thanks so much for watching. If you like this, please subscribe and take a look at all the other videos on our YouTube channel.